Wait. What's that? Nothing But Reds is actually posting a podcast? What? What's going on, Reds? Welcome back. It's Nothing But Reds, the podcast where we discuss nothing but Liverpool FC from the American viewpoint. And I have been away. I've been away lollygagging, man. I gotta get back on this, but haven't been slacking on watching Liverpool and keeping up with the team. Just been slacking on the podcast. So if you're with me now, thanks for joining. Like and subscribe if you're interested. I'll put the link to the actual podcast in which is on Spotify in the description of the video. So thank you if you're a returner. If it's first time, let me know in the comments. Since I last spoke with y'all, we've had some events, right? We had the back-to-back with Chelsea. Prior to that, we had the 3-0 against Southampton. So we had the back-to-back to Chelsea. We had that League Cup loss, 2-1, which I want to talk about. We had the tie at Stamford Bridge, which was actually a really good game. I mean, I really enjoyed that game. And what I enjoyed more was Sturridge coming on and then doing the most Sturridge thing anyone could have ever imagined. Getting the ball on his left foot and going far post over the keeper, upper 90, from 25, 30 yards out. Having been on the pitch for about 3 minutes. The man is incredible. I don't know. It's a shame. It is an absolute shame that man is injury prone, because Daniel Sturridge is an excellent soccer player, especially a striker. But anyways, the two back-to-back, one loss, knocking us out of the League Cup, and then the 1 point we had with Chelsea, right? Moving forward, we had the game against Napoli, which I actually didn't watch. I only saw the highlights. I had it streaming at work. Now, I was periodically checking in because I can't look at my computer the entire time at work, but I would periodically check on it, and it just seemed like a boring game. It didn't seem like either team had waves of attack. You know, we've become accustomed to that almost as Liverpool fans. So just to not see that was pretty interesting. But I ended up turning it off in like the 85th minute because my computer was kind of dying. But what was really interesting was the fact that I turned it off, Napoli scores, and I looked at my phone, right? Because I turned it off. I had to get the updates on my phone. So I look at my phone, and being a Liverpool fan, a diehard Liverpool fan, for, gosh, I don't know. It hasn't been long. I mean, some of you listening probably have a longer fan base history than I do, but probably going on 5 years, 4 or 5 years, and I didn't expect to see that. You know, there were some games where, back when Brendan Rodgers was coaching, where if I looked at it and I saw a 3-0 loss, I wasn't necessarily upset, or I almost kind of expected it, But in this Klopp team, I don't really have moments like that where I'm expecting to look and see a loss. So I expected to look and see a 0-0, to be honest with you, because we weren't really creating that game. And to see Napoli win 1-0, I was really surprised. I mean, let me guys know, were you guys surprised when we lost, when they put that ball in the 90th minute? I mean, I sure as hell was. And I thought about the table. I thought about, we beat PSG. We should easily beat every other team. And then taking into account that Napoli and Red Star tied, and then PSG goes and beats Red Star 6-1. I'm thinking to myself, how did we just lose? And not only that, but not even score a goal. We were skunked by Napoli. I don't know. It was interesting to me, but since I don't have too much info on that game since I didn't watch it. So I mean, I watched the highlights. Of course, I can look at the stats, but I don't really want to waste time with that. What I really want to get into is Man City. And I also want to talk about all of our debuts, season debuts that we had against the league, against Chelsea in the League Cup, and then also some of our returns, Lovren, um, Shaqiri, Sturridge, the main people in the lens right now. Against Man City. Let me know what you guys think about this, but I'll kind of get into it. So, Man City has become in the past 3 seasons, I'd say, and y'all can back me up on this, maybe even longer than that, maybe 4 or 5 when they were chasing for the title when Suarez was there. Uh, this has developed into a rivalry, Man City and Liverpool, from my point of view. And since this podcast is discussing the American point of view, right? If I'm looking at the United States as a general sample size, and I take the fact that NBC Sports and the TV deals that are coming in with the Premier League have skyrocketed in the United States in the past 5, 10 years, right? Maybe even just 5. Then I can generalize and say that a lot of the American fans would say that right now, at this point in time, maybe not historically, but now, Man City and Liverpool have a rivalry that is developing over the past 5 years because of the new fan bases, the growth of each club, and people not necessarily knowing the history of each club, who the rivalries are. You know, for example, you got Man United and Liverpool were going at it. You got Man City, obviously, and Man United. And but looking at Man City against Liverpool, 2 top dogs in the Premier League since these the sample size of people in the United States started following Premier League soccer, it's safe to say there's a rivalry, right? And even if you've been a longtime fan, you'd agree that there has been a developing rivalry. So sorry for the ridiculous comparison and anecdotal statistical evidence of the United States. I really just wanted to prove a point that, in my opinion, there's becoming a rivalry. All right. So now you're still with me. Cool. So going into that game, you're thinking it's going to be a juggernaut game, 2 juggernauts going at each other, which it is. But in the past, the Champions League and the Premier League, these two, they can't beat us at Anfield. That's the first thing I want to say. I feel like in the past 5 years, we have Man City's number when it comes to playing them. Maybe not 5. Maybe in the past 3 seasons, we've had their number. And then in the Champions League, Man City were favorites last year. 100% were favorites last year, in my opinion. Maybe them or Madrid to win it again. And we smashed them. We smashed them in the Champions League. It was excellent. I mean, it was perfect. And then we beat them in the Premier League. I may have this backwards. We beat them 4-3 in I can't remember which one was the league game and which one was the Champions League game. We beat them 3-0 at Anfield and 4-3. And I am so mad I can't remember. And I don't even know if I want to go look. Yeah, I'm going to look because it's making me mad that I can't remember, y'all. I hate when this happens. I bring up a point and then I absolutely cannot remember anything about the evidence I was going to use to support the point. All right, so let's go Champions League, right? Go last year. I want to go. All right, we'll go Premier League, but let's go last year. Okay, it's not letting me do it. I'm going to skip on that point, right? So if you got it, let me know. We beat them 3-0, and I want to say 3-0 was in the league, and then the Champions League was 4-3, and that's why we freaked out when they scored the goal at home. So yeah, I'm going to go with that. Champions League, we beat them 4-3. In the league, we beat them 3-0. And that's going to lead me into another point I want to talk about, Ox. Talk about the Ox. But this game against Man City, going in, everyone's excited. Everyone's expecting a lot of goals, a lot of action. The game was kind of boring. I kind of had a nervy feeling the entire time. I was just freaking out that we were going to give up a goal somehow, some way, and may not necessarily score because we weren't creating. I, this season, bear with me because I'm going to come back to the Man City game, but this season, I'll bring this point up now because I was going to bring it up a little later, but it's perfect time to bring it up now. You saw it in the Man City game, guys. We would pass the ball into the final third, and then the 1-2s, the finesse, the skill, the energy. I'm not going to say the effort because the effort's there, but all those previous things that I said seem to be lacking. You know, the attack mindset that we have, we literally just attack every game, all game. We've had games where we just attack. One of the best examples was last year in the Champions League, 2 games, Maribor and then against FC Porto in the second round or in the round of 16. I mean, we destroyed Porto. That was an amazing game. I mean, we just couldn't be stopped. And I didn't see that aspect in this game against Man City, right? What we saw were 2 teams, in my opinion, that were playing not to make a mistake, right? And let me elaborate on that. In big games like this, sometimes, not intentionally, the players will adopt, I should say, a style of play that's conservative, right? Because you don't want to give up anything. You don't want to give up goals and then it be your fault, especially in an important game like this where every point matters in terms of fighting for the Premier League title. So that's the first thing I noticed, that it seemed we were playing not to make mistakes, right? Additionally, our midfield looks a little off. Maybe a little tired, I don't know, but it looks a little off. Not having Trent at the back, I noticed a difference, although Gomez was able to showcase his ability to not only dribble but distribute the ball up the side of the pitch, which is great, and his ability to hold off, I don't know if it was Laporte or Bernard or someone over there on the left guarding Gomez when he would run up, so the left back or the left midfielder. He demonstrated the ability to control the ball and distribute the ball in the final third. Gomez did, in my opinion. Maybe not in the final third, but throughout the field. Van Dijk, shaky game. Not bad defensively, but shaky in moments that required composure, right? And normally he's not like that. But every once in a while he'll have a game like that. Like against Leicester, he had a game like that where he's really just, I don't know, it didn't seem like himself. And people are going to argue that the first half no penalty on Aguero was a penalty. No, that was not a penalty. The one that they called was definitely deserving of a penalty, way more so than the Aguero incident. But throughout the game, we really just weren't seeing shots on target. The game was completely just different. It was isolated. It was a 0-0. It reminded me of the Manchester City versus Liverpool 0-0. The only difference of last season, but the only difference at Anfield. Sorry, I keep cutting myself off. But the only difference is in that game, Mourinho sat back and absorbed pressure, and we had I remember 23 shots on goal, or 23 shots, 17 on target, and we didn't score a single goal. It was 0-0. So this game was exactly like that. Of course, the difference being we weren't attacking. Neither team seemed to get anything going on the offensive side. So that brings me into what kind of form are we looking at for Salamane and Firmino? We know, us Reds know, we all know, y'all. We all know. We know that Salah's struggling, okay? And it's not just with goals and assists. He's struggling all over the place. If it's timing a pass, if it's judging distance and power for a shot, if it's keeping the ball in the final third, he's struggling right now. But full support, obviously. He's a player. He's a Liverpool player. Full support. I'm just saying Salah's the one who I'm most concerned with right now. Mane's kind of had a split season. The first first 5, 6 games, he had like 4 goals, and he was really hot. He was playing very well. He was quick. He was just agile. He things were clicking for him. Things were clicking for him, and same thing for Firmino. But we saw in this game our inability to create in the final third. Just in this game, you can obviously probably attribute it to Man City's defense, but I think it also goes to show that normally we wouldn't, if you judge it on last year, we didn't have a problem. We've never really had a problem against Man City since Klopp came, but we didn't seem to create. And I can't decide. I'm going to settle on the fact that it's our front three's form. Not saying they're bad, right? Not saying they're having a bad season, but their form, especially Salah's, has been a little off lately. So that's kind of what I'm getting to. But on the other side of the argument, could it also be the midfield? You know, we brought in the new people, right? We brought in Shaqiri, we brought in Fabinho, we brought in Keita, and of those three, Keita and Shaqiri are probably the most ready, right? Fabinho hasn't started yet. But if you look at this Man City game and isolate it, when Keita came on for Milner, he didn't really have much. He didn't really have that spark. He just couldn't get up to pace. And it kind of reminded me of how Salah's playing. Not necessarily up to the pace. His touch is off. His passes are off. His shots are off. It's weird. It's not odd. I mean, it happens to players all the time. Players go through bad spurts, you know? But in a game like this, you expected to see more. However, looking at players that aren't starting but are in the rotation, and mainly I'm talking about Sturridge, Shaqiri, and then really those are the only two. And then Keita's been subbed out a few times, Matip, Fabinho, but Sturridge and Shaqiri, mainly Sturridge, are having good years so far, as in their respective roles. Sturridge being coming on late, last 20 minutes, and putting the ball in the back of the net. Or starting and putting the ball in the back of the net. The man puts the ball in the back of the net, doesn't matter where he's at. And then there's Shaqiri. And Shaqiri, he's doing all right. I mean, you can't really complain about a player you got for 13 million or some odd number, like something completely a bargain for him. But we haven't really got a chance to see Shaqiri's skills exemplified on the field. We've had isolated pockets of it, but it'll be interesting to see how they transition once we start picking up games. You know, once we start really getting deep into the winter and really playing Champions League, FA Cup, Premier League, all that stuff. Back to back to back to back. So let's talk, kind of rewinding a little bit, I'll talk about the fact that we rotated our squad, right? Klopp rotated the side against Chelsea in the League Cup, and we saw players that we haven't seen all season, right? We saw Klein, we saw Moreno. Matip and Lovren were in the back. Can't even remember I think the midfield may have stayed the same. I think it was Milner, Henderson, Wijnaldum. I can't really remember the lineup in that game. But then the front three, you had Sturridge, Shaqiri, and Mane, I believe it was. And looking at players like Klein, I saw a report recently that said Klein will probably be gone by next summer, or he'll be going next summer, which I wouldn't be surprised, but also I don't want him to go. I like Nathaniel Klein. But the one thing, obviously, we got to bring up, because every Liverpool fan knows about it, is how Moreno got absolutely destroyed and put in the spin cycle and hung out to dry when Hazard drove in and had that screamer of a goal to win it. I mean, that was incredible. That was absolutely incredible. And that is Moreno's only downfall, really. He's an excellent attacker. His left foot is stronger, and he has one of the best shots on the team. And I will challenge anyone on that. The man has one of the best shots, most powerful shots on the team. But against a great winger, he will never win. He will never win because he's not a natural defender. He's a natural left wing back, which is why Rodgers brought him in. Rodgers played that 5 at the back, or the 3 with the 2 wing backs. He played like that. He liked to put Moreno in that position. So yeah, and sorry, I got a blank for a second. So now, and then going and looking at Sturge's performance, Sturge had a great performance, so did Shaqiri. But looking at all these utility players, it's crazy to think to me, guys, that these players were our first string not too long ago. As fans, we can't take for granted the quality of the side that we have now. I mean, I really, some days I don't believe it. And this goes back to me looking at the phone against Napoli, like, wait, we just lost? Like, we cannot take for granted where we've been and where we're going. We're Liverpool, right? Liverpool has the highest of the highs as far as club success and history, but it also has some of the lowest of the lows. One of them being never winning the Premier League, right? The other being not qualifying for the Champions League that year, the Klopp's first year. I mean, we've never been relegated, but we've had issues, right? We've had our issues, as does every team. As does every team. But we're looking at these utility players, and some of them, such as Lovren, right? Lovren is able to come in and do the job that Gomez was doing while Lovren was out with that pelvic injury. Now, looking at Matip, I don't know. That was Klopp's first. I don't know if it was first signing, but it was his first defensive signing. We got him on a free transfer from Schalke, and it seems like Matip, because Matip can handle the ball. Matip has the ability to dribble and all that, but I think what Klopp has, Van Dijk and Matip are the left center backs, the dribblers, right? When Lovren comes in, he's playing to the right of Van Dijk, same as Gomez. So looking at when Van Dijk is playing, obviously Lovren's going to come in. I don't think he'll put Matip beside him because you don't want two players like that. Lovren is a pure out-and-out defender, whereas Van Dijk can push into the midfield, and honestly, he could probably play that role. But he's the dribbler, the mobile center back. Matip plays the same role when he plays. So I just thought that was something that was interesting. But Lovren coming back into the lineup, that's obviously what Klopp prefers. But as fans, seeing Gomez being able to go into that center back position and not only do well and hold down the fort while Lovren's out, but succeed and look good while doing it, I mean, we all have seen now that Gomez is able to play that position at a Premier League level. And not only that, but he plays right back. You throw him anywhere you want. Gomez is unbelievable. I think Gomez is one of the most underrated players that we have on this team. Aside from Firmino. Firmino is always going to be underrated. That man is amazing. I love Firmino. Now, kind of going, because we know Lovren, but one player, and I think you guys can agree with me, one player we really need to get back is the Ox, Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain. We very much so against Manchester City, but also in general, we miss this man. We miss this man. Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain gives us that element that I did not see present in the last game against Man City, right? Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain provides a press, a player that can press, a player that has the strength to press and body people and win back possession, but also a player that is a pure instinctive attacker and shooter, which I think Klopp sees in Keita. I think everyone sees that in Keita. Wijnaldum was brought in probably for the same reasons, to be that 8 role, right? That kind of 8 player. He doesn't necessarily have the attacking skills, because you remember when he was at Newcastle, this man Wijnaldum was playing in a 10 role. Sometimes he was even playing as a forward, and Klopp brought him in and said, you can do this role, you can do the 6, you can do the 8. So, but what none of these midfielders have is Ox's ability to attack and get forward. And when he started to hit stride in the Champions League, and we saw it mainly against Manchester City, all you Reds know what I'm talking about. He's nearly unstoppable. He's incredible. We're really missing him this year. It's underrated how much we miss him. But when the Ox comes back, that element that we were lacking, that I didn't see present in the Man City game, that midfield attacking presence, right? Because we're all defending. Our defense is solid. This season, our defense has been solid, and so has our midfield. But the attacking aspect of our midfield has been lacking. Same with our attacking aspect of our front 3. We just haven't been able to produce the same volume of goals and the same frequency of attack that we were able to last year. But Kind of getting off topic there. So now, I'll just briefly go over this because I'm not worried at all, and you guys can tell me your opinion as well. But Van Dijk, people don't need to worry about. Well, actually, shout out Liverpool versus everybody, because you brought up a good point, and as I mentioned before, go check out his channel. He uploads pretty frequently, and he's got some good content, some good genuine and honest fan talk. So, but he mentioned that if Lovren were to have made the mistakes that Van Dijk made, death threats, right? Death threats, mob, burning his house down. People love to jump on Lovren, but Van Dijk does it, and no one jumps on him because we all know Van Dijk. That is an isolated situation, right? That's the exception, not the rule. The rule of Van Dijk is good, solid defense. So I just wanted to point that out there. So I'm not worried about it. I'm not worried that he gave up a penalty. I'm not worried that he possibly gave up two, even though I really only think he gave up one. Sorry guys, I'm looking at these notes here that I made. So I'm not too worried about the penalty. And last thing I want to talk about before I go into the international break and the Ballon d'Or, I don't even know how to say it, so we're just going to go with that, is Mahrez. I haven't liked Mahrez since I found out that he at Leicester was trying to push a move to Man City in the winter or in January by just completely not working anymore, putting in a transfer request, not showing up to practice. I lose respect for a player when that happens. So when I see a player that I don't respect anymore step up to take a penalty kick and then completely miss it, I'm happy. I'm happy with that 1 point. All right, it's not like it was a 0-0 where they didn't get the penalty, right? Mahrez had a chance to win it and get the 3 points, and he missed. And you deserve it, buddy. You deserve it. Don't like you, Mahrez. I'm sorry. I don't. On FIFA, you're all right, but in real life, don't like you. So, guys, let's talk. Let's close out this podcast here. But 2 points I want to bring up: the Nations League and UEFA Nations League and the international breaks in general during the year. I hate them. And every Liverpool fan in the past knows someone gets hurt. Mane's gotten hurt on international duty. Wijnaldum's gotten hurt. Henderson. I hate them. I hate the fact that our players get taken away. Their training completely changes. They're not, because you guys got to understand, the human body gets used to specific training, especially if you're an athlete and you're doing it every single day. It's called muscle adaptation, right? It changes to what you're doing. So if you're doing a specific training routine throughout the week and then you go change it up, the chance of injury already increases naturally because your body's not used to doing that specific thing. Now, don't get me wrong, these guys are in excellent shape, and the chances of them getting injured are very slim. But it still happens, and it happens pretty frequently because, and I think it's attributed to the change in training regimen. Now, I don't know if it's less intense or more intense. It's probably less intense. But you're probably at ease and trying things you wouldn't normally try at your club where you're getting paid. So my point with this being is that international breaks are scary times for injuries to happen because the body or the training regimen that our players are used to is suddenly being changed, and you're also playing a different style of football, and things like that can contribute to injuries. It's just like if you're in the gym, right, and you're benching. You normally bench 135, 3 sets of 10, and then you're done, right? But say today you just said, all right, I'm going to throw on 195, and I'm going to do 2 sets of 10, okay? You may not even get that weight up. I mean, if you're doing 3 sets of 10, you'll probably get it up. You'll probably get the weight up, but you're probably not doing 2 sets of 10. And if you push yourself to do the same amount that you were doing, but a different weight, you may hurt yourself. I mean, it's the same idea, right? If you're following me, appreciate it, because it makes sense in my head. um, Now let's talk about the Ballon d'Or. I really can't say it. The best player in the world nominations: Allison, Firmino, Mane, and Salah. Right? Who else? Who else? And what's really interesting is that Allison's getting nominated for work he did with Roma. So obviously, he's obviously not going to win. And if he does, that's crazy. But he's obviously not going to win. But if he won with us and he did the work at Roma, that's pretty incredible. That would be funny for me. So congratulations to our boys. They really deserve it. All three of them. They're absolutely incredible players, and I'm so proud that they play for Liverpool. I really would hate to see any of them leave, but no one's soccer nowadays. It may happen. It may happen. So now, and my last thing I want to say is the international breaks. We all know they suck, right? And Klopp has expressed his displeasure with these breaks, and he's mentioned some of the same points that I've brought up. But I think that Klopp knows the risks, and he obviously consults all the players. He's the type of coach that talks to players constantly, and he has obviously addressed this issue that he believes in with the players, saying things like, be careful, make sure you stretch, right? Obviously, these are things that they're going to do anyway, but he just, because Klopp is a very structured and very cultured coach, where he wants things done his way, and he knows it's the right way because he only knows one way to do things. It's the only way he believes in. And that goes in all aspects of the sport, including the fitness of the players. So I can't blame him. It pisses me off too. And it's going to be a pain in the ass to have to wait to see Liverpool play again. But I am excited because when it returns, it's the best feeling in the world. Anticipation makes the heart grow fonder, right? That's what they say. That's what they say, right? Or stronger, whatever it is. You know what it is. All right, y'all. Hey, if you've made it to this point and you're still listening, thank you. Give yourself a pat on the back, because I'm not the best person to listen to, but like I've said in countless podcasts before, I just want to talk about the team that I love, right? If you guys are with me and you're here still listening, thank you very much. Like and subscribe, comment. Let me know what you think. Appreciate you guys tuning in, and I'll be on the lookout for a podcast during the international break with an update on the players. Other than that, appreciate your time. Take care, y'all.